multi-billionaire governors to multi-billionaire pensioners. That is the story of many former governors in Nigeria. In the next few days, some of these governors will be leaving office, but there has been a significant uproar surrounding the pension schemes of both current and former governors, which many Nigerians have criticized as excessive and morally questionable, considering the financial circumstances of the states from which these pensions are being funded. By May 29th, governors that will be completing their second term in office include Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State, Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State, Samuel Otum of Benue State, Ben Ayade of Cross River State, Ifeanyi Okowa, Delta State, Dave Umahi, Ebonyi State, and Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu State. Others are Mohammed Badaru Abubakar of Jigawa State, Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna State, Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State, Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina, Atiku Abubakar Bagudu of Kebbi State, Abubakar Bello of Niger State, Simon Lalong of Plateau State, Yesum Wike, River State, Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State, Bello Matawale of Zamfara State, and Dairus Ishaku of Taraba State. But the life of affluence and luxury continues for some of these governors, all at the expense of the states. For instance, upon leaving office, River State Governor and his deputy will enjoy benefits as approved by the State Pensions Law 2012. Under the law, former governors are entitled to 3 brand new vehicles, replaced every 4 years, in addition to receiving 100% of their basic salaries, 300% of their annual basic salaries for furniture, free medical services, and provisions for entertainment. In Kano, the pension law enacted in 2007 provides, among other things, that former governors and their deputies will be entitled to 100% of the incumbent's basic salary, including a well-furnished 6-bedroom house for the governor, while former deputy governors are allocated a 4-bedroom house. The law also provides for free medical treatment for them and members of their families, as well as an annual 30-day vacation within and outside Nigeria. Former governors are also entitled to an office space, 2 drivers, and a personal staff who must hold a position not lower than that of a principal administrative officer. In Lagos State, although the governor will not be leaving on May 29th, having won his re-election, the Pensions Law of 2007 provides that a former governor is entitled to 6 brand new cars every 3 years and the ownership of a house in both Lagos and Abuja. The estimated cost of a house in Lagos is valued at 750 million naira, while one in Abuja is valued at 1 billion naira. Furthermore, former governors, along with their spouse and unmarried as well as married children, are provided with free medical care. An ex-governor is also entitled to a cook, steward, gardener, and other domestic staff who are pensionable. Under the same law, former governors are entitled to 100% of their annual basic salaries, 3 cars, 2 backup cars, and 1 pilot car every 3 years. However, in 2021, the State House of Assembly amended the law by slashing the benefits and emoluments by 50%. In Akwa Ibom State, former governors and their deputies are set to benefit from the pension law of 2014, which approves life pension equivalent of their annual basic salaries for them. They are entitled to official cars and utility vehicles once in every 4 years, personal aides and security personnel, access to funds to employ cooks, chauffeurs, and security guards with a minimum monthly allocation of 5 million naira for ex-governors and 2.5 million naira for former deputy governors. The law also ensures that ex-governors and deputies, as well as their spouses, receive free medical services along with befitting houses, not less than a 5-bedroom luxurious apartment, either within the state or in Abuja. Other benefits include furniture allowance once every 4 years, yearly maintenance and fueling of vehicles, and severance gratuity of 300% of the annual basic salaries, yearly utility and entertainment allowance of 100% of annual basic salaries. In Sokoto, the State Grant of Pension Law of 2013 outlines the provisions regarding pensions for the governor and deputy governor. According to the law, the total annual pension to be paid to the governor and deputy governor should be equivalent to the total annual salary of the incumbents. The law, however, exempted those who were removed from office by the process of impeachment or for breach of any provision of the Constitution. According to the law, all elected governors of the state since October 1979, including those who passed away while in office, are eligible to receive these benefits.
This is not right for a nation where we are talking about the high rate of poverty. Let me tell you, as a governor, you have a security vote, you have other allowances that comes in for 8 years, for crying out loud. And then you talk about vehicles, houses at your choice, these at your choice. These are athletes. What will you do with it?
If you look at what is being taken out by the governors who have served their various states, the amount is clearly unprecedented. It's something that is mind-blowing.
Beyond the significant financial burden caused by these pension packages, many states are grappling with substantial debt levels, including both foreign and domestic debt, which puts further strain on the state's resources.
It's discretionary because the law does not stop them from collecting their allowances. So if they want to give away their own allowances, then it's discretionary.
If you calculate what goes out of the treasury every year for one governor or the deputy, it's so outrageous, it's so outlandish. And then you look at that, it's a state that is also struggling to survive. They cannot pay salaries. They cannot fix basic infrastructure, no hospitals, no school functioning. Then a governor that has served and who is already a multi-billionaire is taking so much out of the system.
More disturbing is the fact that some of the governors benefiting from the state pensions have either transitioned to the Senate or serving as ministers. Despite receiving salaries and allowances in their current roles, they simultaneously continue to draw monthly from the already depleted funds of their respective states.
These incoming National Assembly should immediately pass a law. Once you're a governor and you are elected in the Senate or you are appointed a minister, you should lose one. Because you can't have a big elephant in your head that you are taking home to go and slaughter for your family to eat. And you saw one small bush rat, you want to carry it again. And by the other side, you see another cricket, small cricket that is meant for poor people. You want to collect it and you hold two of them like this and you are going home with it for you and your family. That's unacceptable.
You are receiving money as a senator, you're also receiving money as a former governor of a state. You are really imperiling the country and economy.
Various states have passed those laws and they are already operational.
A major concern is that these benefits are rewards for a maximum of 8 years in office. What do civil and public servants who spend up to 35 years in service get?
Serap and some of these public-spirited individuals that go to court on grounds of public interest cases should be encouraged. The court should reduce this issue of losing local standard in order to discourage cases that come under public interest.
If there's a law that provides that they must be given, they will be given. But the advocacy should go to such states.
Amidst the declining economic situation in the country, where some states struggle to meet the minimum wage of 30,000 naira for their workers, coupled with the plans for subsidy removal, the incoming administration has enough to contend with economically. Despite this, billions of naira continue to flow into the accounts of former governors and their deputies in the name of pension. Analysts say that unless this anomaly is corrected, many states operating under such pension laws may remain underdeveloped as they continue to groan under heavy financial burden of pension for former governors and their deputies.
To discuss this issue, we are being joined from our Lagos studio by Ossai, as a political analyst and public affairs commentator. Thank you, Mr. Ossai. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Now, help us make sense of this whole story of pensions for ex-governors and their deputies. Billions of naira go into their account even after they've left office, despite the huge security votes that they get during their tenure. Now, how do we ensure that we do not continue to encourage them to further impoverish the states?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, Nigeria. It is in line with the nature of man to be selfish. Except there are laws that mitigate against unbridled access to resources in the common tail. The nature of man is to continue to exercise his liberties. And therefore, in better climes, or where people are more considerate, there are laws that are put in place to check man against himself, against self-destructing. The problem we have in Nigeria is that we have, as it were, deified political office. We have made political office appear like being a semi-god or something like that. Yeah? Because the worst thing about it is, how many of these governors you have enumerated had a measure of success as a result of their own ingenuity or creativity? Somebody who was walking the streets with us 4 years ago suddenly wins an election, and he comes out at the end of maybe 8 years, and he's clearly a billionaire. And there is no checks or balances. There is nobody to say, no, this is not right. I don't know whether EFCC is still in existence. I personally do not know. I can't see them. I can't feel them. Yeah? And what is more, okay, this emolument or whatever is for the office of these governors. What about local government chairmen? What about commissioners? What about councillors? What about ministers? You know, well, I blame the press here, because the press in Nigeria doesn't give a critical analysis in situations. They just sprinkle facts here and there, and we keep moving on. I expect the press in Nigeria, all the journalists in Nigeria, to be investigative. How much is the total amount of money that Nigeria loses annually as a result of severance allowance for those who have held the office of governor? How much is Nigeria supposed to lose in a year to sustain a former president of the Federal Republic? We must become critical and analytical in this country. Yeah? What I'm saying in effect is that there should be information first and foremost. Then secondly, if there is no law put in place to checkmate these things, the right of protest is the people's right. We can say no by protest. It's a right of the population. Because you see, one of the challenges this nation faces is the fact that when the state is aggrieved or angry with somebody, the state has agencies of coercion that demand conformity. But when governance is at fault, you can't do anything about it. It's just left to float. Yeah? It's a massive problem that we need to begin to deal with in this nation. In a country like America, if you are a governor and you're given a Rolex wristwatch, when you are leaving office, there is an amount of money fixed for you to pay for that wristwatch before you can take it out of government office. I hear that how the office of the President of America runs is that every food you eat, there is an amount of money associated with it. So at the end of the day, you pay. You're not just living off the people's common wealth. That is why we are where we are. How much debt is this outgoing administration handing over to us as a people? I hear there is a 27 point something trillion naira that has been monetized and should be paid off by the populace in the next 40 years. Look at what you are enumerating. I listened to the breakdown that is going to go to some gentlemen who have served, who had the best of times in the last 8 years. And we are subjected to this humongous amount.
Right. Well, Mr. Ossai, you have said a whole lot in just one breath. Well, you had accused the media, and it got me to wonder if you didn't see that special report that was compiled by Tunji Olanipekun, because it did break down, especially the 18 states where we're seeing the change of guard, what exactly is going on with regards to the severance for the governors and the ex-governors. But leaving that aside, really, the fact that, you know, they say the reward for teachers is in heaven, but it seems like the reward for our governors and our deputy governors in Nigeria is right here on earth. And let's put that with the fact that, you know, the debt management office, it says no fewer than 18 outgoing governors that are getting jumbo pension actually owes about 3 trillion naira. And we're talking about states that barely pay salaries, barely pay for teachers or anything else. But at the end of the day, some would say these governors have actually put in 4 to 8 years, not comparing them to the civil servants who've worked about 35 years. But are you saying that the pension idea itself is wrong, or it's the fact that how humongous what they get, that is where the problem is? What exactly is the challenge?
My issue, my personal issue in this matter is that by the way our states run, you notice that when an executive governor is in office, hardly will the state assembly pass a law that contradicts that governor. So in coming up with pension law by the state assemblies, you will see that nobody who is an honorable member in the state assembly can say anything that contradicts the governor that, as it were, put him there. So, first of all, something is wrong with the structure of the states that produce honorable members that pass these laws. Number two, the governors themselves, look, part of the problem of democracy in Nigeria is the office of executive governors of the states in the federation. Let's be practical for once. Yeah? In spite of the amount of money that comes to the governors as what you call security votes, in spite of the fact that the state budgets come to these governors, in spite of the fact that even the local government allocations, I heard the Mr. President warning the local government chairman that they must learn that they are going to be held accountable for the funds that come to these local governments. Listen, I have been part of the political process, so I know what the issues are. Somebody ran for governor, another person ran for Senate, another person ran for House of Reps, and if you check their net worth at the end of 8 years, you find that the governor is 55 times better or more financially capable than his political colleagues. Go and ask any politician in the field. He will confirm what I'm saying. In fact, this is the thinking behind the concept of constituency allowances in the federal House of Reps. Because we say, what then are we politicians for as well? So these are critical issues. I am saying that the Nigerian nation should rise up. It is time to checkmate the level of greed of the human beings that occupy political positions in Nigeria. I'm not referring to one person. I am referring to the political class. The political class is trying to run the country aground. The country is broke. The amount we earn as income today is the amount we use to service debts, not even for anything to remain to run the nation. And this is because the political class have run the country aground. So I am saying that it is time for the people of Nigeria to rise up and say, it is not supposed to be so. There is an alternative. There is a better way to run nations. So if the political class cannot checkmate themselves, then the people of the nation should rise up somehow and design a system by which you can checkmate them from running us aground. Because at the end of the day, it's on our head, on the head of our children, and the future of the whole nation. So these are my issues.
Mr. Oscar Ossai, thank you very much for your insight on Newsnight tonight.